Good morning, beginners. Welcome to my home and my effort to try to communicate with you and say hello outside of the normal world that we interact with. Hopefully, you guys are all staying safe and washing your hands and staying indoors as often as you need to. I'm going to try to provide these a couple of times throughout this process as long as we're separated so that you can see me, and it gives you some sort of guided instruction throughout the time between now and whenever we get back together again. So what you're going to need, like we do with all of our lessons, is your instrument. I'm going to be doing our entire lesson on trumpet because the majority of my students are trumpet students. But if you play trombone or French horn, one of my woodland kids, then obviously go ahead and take those as well. You're going to need your book, your regular accent and achievement book, and we're going to probably work through your band music, but I'm not going to be demonstrating that because you each have different individual parts. So if you have something specifically when I ask you to play those sections in your assignments, then I'll work on those with you at that time. So the first thing we're going to do, like we normally do, is buzz. So you're going to take your mouthpiece out. I'm going to be doing it on trumpet. If you have a trombone or French horn mouthpiece, just buzz along. And I'm going to buzz for about 12 seconds, and you can do it in hopefully 2 breaths at this point. If you need to take a breath along the way, just breathe as often as possible. We want to make a steady, consistent sound so that there's no waves in the sound, and get as much of the steady sound as you can in one breath. All right, so let's try it together. I'm going to count to 4 like we did back in September. 1, 2, 3. Good. So that little dip you heard, that's when my fingers slipped on the mouthpiece, but that's what we want to try to avoid. We want to try to keep it nice and stabilized throughout that whole thing. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to page 13 in your books. We're going to buzz line 43. All right, so get there, pause the video if you need to, and here's line 43. 2, ready. Good. We're going to buzz line 38 next. We've done this one a while ago, but it's good to review, and it should be easy for you. So here's buzzing line 38. 1, 2, and ready. And line 40. 1 and 2, ready. So I was able to do that in one breath. If you need to take a breath, obviously, go ahead and do so. Don't forget, on that line 40, we've got that repeat after the first ending. It takes us back to the beginning, and then we skip the first ending and go to the second ending, right? We did that a whole bunch in February, and I assume that you guys remember that. If not, hopefully that review helps. And so the last thing we're going to do is go to page 37, and we're going to play our scale, our concert B-flat scale. So most of you guys are going to play a C scale. Some of you guys are going to be playing a B-flat scale, and then if you're a French horn player, EJ, you're going to play an F scale to match all of my pitches. We're going to pull a buzz it first, and then we're going to play it. So still with just the mouthpiece, we're going to buzz it in half notes. Everything's going to get 2 beats, even though on the music it has quarter notes. 1, 2, ready. Great. Okay, so now we're going to plug the mouthpiece in get your instruments ready. Again, pause the video if you need to. Get yourself comfortable. And we're going to play that scale in those half notes. 1, 2, ready. Good, so we're going to do another exercise with that scale. We're going to play each note of the scale 4 times in eighth notes, or TTs. And so it's going to be T, 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 to make sure we're using our tongues in between our lips to separate the notes. Don't use your lips and go. They'll sound very similar, but you got to make sure you've got your tongue separating those notes. So let's try that scale in 4 eighth notes for each note, all the way up and all the way down. 1 and 2 and ready. It's a good time now to check your right hand posture. Make sure you've got your fingertips on the valves, your pinky on top of the pinky slot, and your thumb is going to end up right underneath your first finger in line with it. So you have that nice big open spot. Your left hand, we've talked about holding a trumpet weight with the left hand, thumb in your U if you have a U. If not, no big deal. Most of you guys have taken this pinky ring slot off, the third valve slide. That's totally fine. Just wrap the rest of your fingers in and around the trumpet. If you have yours in different places and you wrap them this way, it's fine. We want to try to avoid having your fingers in this awkward position here. This doesn't look good. It's very uncomfortable and very awkward. So everything just really gets wrapped around the valves here, so you're gripping it with your left hand. And again, that right hand posture, nice and tall fingers to get over the top. Okay, great. All right, so now we're going to turn back and we're going to play some of those lines. We're going to review lines 38 and 40, which we've done already a few times. And then we will play some new stuff, and we'll talk about how to play lines 41 and 44 and 49. So let's play 38 first. This should be pretty easy. Hopefully you remember it. If not, we'll review. All right, so here's 38. 1 and 2 and ready. Good, and let's do line 40. Again, pause the video if you need to. Here's line 40. 1 and 2 and ready. Okay, that should all be review. And now we're going to go on to some new stuff that I just touched on before I went on break with you guys, line 44 and 49. So on line 44, we've got the little slurs that we've talked about before. They are curvy lines that look like ties, but they're going to connect the notes in a similar fashion, but instead of adding the values together, they're going to ask you to connect them as much as possible. Now, defaultly, we like to have most of our notes connect that way anyway, unless they're written to be in a separate style. But the difference is if you're playing French horn or trumpet, you're actually going to just move your air and your fingers and not utilize the tongue in between those notes. So looking at the first 2 notes on line 44, we have different letters depending on what instrument you're playing, either E flat and F for trombone or F to G for French horns and trumpet. And we're going to connect those notes by tonguing the first one and then moving our valves to the next note and using our air to separate them instead of tonguing. So here's what we're looking to make the note sound like. Here's what it would sound like if there was no slur there. So I'm articulating using my tongue to start each of those notes without the slur. With the slur, the first 3 notes will ask us to tongue only the first one and the third one. So we'll toot, toot. You should practice singing that with me real quick. The first 3 notes. Ready, go. Toot, toot. Okay, so if you've got that, let's actually try singing the whole thing. I'm not going to sing letters. We're going to go twos because there's different letters for different instruments. So sing along with me. Try to finger the notes or move your hands in the slide positions as we go through line 44. 1, 2, ready, go. Toot, 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 toot. Toot, 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 toot. Toot, 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 toot. So the difference in our tongue utilization when we slur versus when we tongue is called articulation. They fall under the umbrella of what we ask you to do with your tongue. They're called articulations. So now we're going to try practicing it. So when you practice this, we should break it into small pieces. Let's try just playing the first 3 notes together. 1, ready? 1, 2, here we go. Now you might want to practice that 4 or 5 more times before we go on. After you're ready to go on, we'll start with the next 2 notes. We're going to play the first 5 notes. 1, 2, ready. Good. Now you don't need to do the fingering thing I'm doing. I'm just showing you where the pulse is. But that gives you an idea of where we're at. Okay, so pause the video. Do those 5 notes 8 times. And now that you're done doing that, we're going to go on and play the next 5 notes. So we're going to start with the last note of measure 2 and go all the way until the next dotted half note, which is right after the breath, right before the breath mark. Let's try it together. If you're not sure what we're playing, listen first, and then you can go back and repeat it. 1, 2. So again, pause the video, go back and play those 5 notes again, 8 times. Now that you're ready to go on, we're going to start from the beginning, and we're going to play all the way until the breath mark. So it's essentially the first 4 measures. Ready? We'll go a little slower. 1, 2, ready, beginning. Good. Okay, so hopefully you've practiced that now 8 times in a row. We'll pause the video if you need to, go back and review it, and we're going to start with the next section. So we'll start right after the breath mark on the 8th notes, or TTs you might remember, and we're going to play all the way through the ending. So the next 4 measures. Now you can break this apart if you need to and just do the last 2 measures, but we've gone over this before and this is a little bit easier than the section we just practiced. So from the breath mark, we'll start with T-T-2, 2, and let's go ahead and play right after the breath mark. 1, 2. Now you know how you did. You can respond and react and reflect on your own playing. If you succeeded in playing that and reading it very well, then great. You can go ahead and move on. If not, pause the video. You could start with just the last 2 measures and then go back and repeat those. You can then add the 2 measures before that and work it in 2 measure sections. We're going to do the whole thing now together, and we'll see how comfortable you feel. 1, 2, from the beginning, and... So you can stop there for today. I'm going to go on and show you line 49 as well, which will be part of the additional assignment. If you get a chance to do this tomorrow, you have the entire week to work out these assignments and go over things. But you should always start with that warm up that we have at the beginning. So line 49, we're going to do the same way we did line 44. We'll break it down into smaller pieces. So we're going to start with just the first 4 notes in the first 2 measures. Let's play those first 4 notes together easily. 1, 4 quarter notes, and ready. Okay, going over the scale, that should be very easy because you've done your scale a whole bunch now. Okay, the next 2 measures, we have 8th notes, the TTs, and we have a slur in there as well. So we need 2, 2, 2, 2. Now just to clarify, if you're playing trombone with slurs, we tongue every single note. So let's go ahead and try playing measures 3 and 4. Notice the notes are going to go faster because they're 8th notes. 1 and 2 and ready and play. So now let's go back to the beginning. You can obviously pause that, repeat those sections 8 times each as you need to review, and let's play the first 4 measures when you're ready. Ready? 1, 2, here we go. Okay, so that should have been pretty straightforward, and hopefully you're comfortable with that. The next section adds a new note. Now, we went over this back in January and February, but we may have forgotten. So we're going to talk about the new note. If you play trumpet or French horn, the new note is F sharp. So a sharp is an accidental, or in the key signature, it's an added change to elevate the pitch a half step. Meaning, if we think about stairs, the note F might be your first floor, and the note G might be the second floor. So F sharp is halfway in between them. Now there's also a flat, which trombone players have been playing for a while, and the French horns have seen before. And I think on trumpet have started talking about B flat as well. Flat means to go down, and so a flat and a sharp hang out in the middle together. Every note, every letter has a flat or a sharp component. Some of them end up being additional other notes you know, but for our purposes, all we need to worry about today is sharp means to go higher, and F sharp is a little bit higher than F. Now to play an F sharp on trumpet or French horn, we're going to use just the middle valve, just like a B. If you forgot that, then now we've got that remembered, and you can write that in. If you're playing trombone, we have the new note E natural, that little box with a tail and a hat on it. It's called a natural sign. That's E natural, and that's in second position. So that's going to be like our low A, which we learned earlier this year, and we have the A in the scale. So the fingering for this note is middle valve F sharp, and there's 3 of them on this line, because you'll notice in measure 6, count it out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Measure 6 is a sharp sign or a natural sign, depending what instrument you're playing, and that note would be the first of them. Now in the second to last measure, measure 7, the next one, there are 2 F sharps or E naturals for trombones, and it's not only the second note of the measure where there's a sign next to it, but also the last note of the measure, because they're in the same measure. And so sharp signs or flat signs or natural signs, any of these accidentals, when they occur in a measure, they change all of the notes in that measure. And then the bar line, that vertical line that separates the measures, it kind of removes the change. It's like a clarifier, so you don't have any more sharps or flats or naturals in the next measure if there are other notes in that similar style. We don't have to worry about that right now. All you need to know is that there are 3 notes, 3 of these new notes in the new lines, and let's try playing just the last 2 measures. So here are measure 7 and 8. T, 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 ta. Don't forget F sharps for both these notes, or E naturals. Ready? Ready? Here we go. So pause the video, repeat that 8 times. You're ready to go on. We're going to play the last 4 measures now. So starting in measure 5 on the quarter notes after the half note. Measure 5 all the way to the end. 1, 2, ready, and... Great, so pause the video, practice that, and let's do the whole thing. Ready? 1, 2, and... good job. Again, pause the video, review it as much as you need to. I'll post the assignments included with this video. It's been a pleasure working with you. I will see you guys again soon. Feel free to send questions my way, as my inbox is already exploding, but I'll happily answer any questions you may have. Stay safe, and I hope to see you guys again soon.